What's up, Minnesota? Yeah, you're just in here for the heat. I know it. Free fucking heat. By the way, this is a panel that, if you're a fan of our films, they're of the rated R nature. So for those who have parents or nephews and nieces and don't want a long car ride home with a lot of weird questions trying to explain what a snowball is, be fair warned.
That's the warning. That's fair. So my job as a moderator, I believe, is to talk as little as possible. This is about you all, your questions, their wonderful answers. There's a microphone right there. You can start lining up now. Try to have only 3 people lined up at a time and then everyone else sit near because we don't want to block sight for too many folks. But we will keep the questions rolling as quick as we can. But first, I want to ask the both of you, it's probably a basic question. We'll get warmed up here. How did each of you end up in the View Askewnaverse? Like, how did this begin for you? Yeah, starting with Joey.
Ladies first.
It's such a long story. How do I tell it in a nutshell? Same casting director as Dazed and Confused, same producer. It was Universal, so I did Dazed and Confused, and then there was already talk of, like, there's another film, Mallrats, you're going to be in it. I went and met Kevin. I think the producer had told, which I just learned this, had told Kevin, or Kevin just refreshed my memory, that we were dating, which we were not. So Kevin's like, I don't want her in the film. It was Jim Jacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bold move.
Yeah, so anyway, so then it was like, no, you're not going to be in the film. And it was like, well, I thought I was going to be in the film. And then they had the big pizza party, which is a whole nother story. But thank God I didn't have to go to that. Then they were like, no, you are going to be in the film. And then they said no. And then they were like, oh, Parker Posey got your part. And Parker was staying with me at the time. So I like hung up the phone and started crying. And she's like, well, I didn't get the part, but you did. But then she couldn't do it. And then like one day I got a call and it was like, they want you to come be in Mallrats. And it was like, fuck them.
I'm nobody's sloppy seconds.
But I'll show up.
Wait,
and so I just think that, like, you know, I just showed up on set with a bad attitude. And apparently Kevin just told me this, like, the first night I was there was a party, and he told me that Jim Jacks had said we were dating, and I immediately went across the room and bitched out Jim Jacks in front of everyone. So yay me. Although I don't remember it, which I think is a bit scary. That was just so common that I didn't remember it.
Look at you taking Jim Jacks by the balls. I love it.
He's so scary.
Right.
But anyway, so then I was like giving Kevin all kinds of shit, saying that Rick Linklater was a real director and he wasn't. And because I just, again, was like kind of pissed off. But it started a banter that continues to this day. That's the nutshell version.
We're so glad.
Mine, I've told this numerous times. Mine is pretty much, I auditioned for Kevin. He was holding auditions out of the town that he lived in called Atlantic Highlands. He lived in Highlands, I lived, and the theater he auditioned that I had been doing stage work hours. I was doing theater for like 3 or 4 years out of this theater called the First Avenue Playhouse in Atlantic Highlands, which is still around. And so I remember the owner of the theater calling me like a month earlier saying, hey, Brian, these guys are renting the theater to audition for a film they're shooting down here. You're in that age group of, I think, what they're looking for. You should come down and audition. Now, I was working out of another theater doing another show at the time, so the month came and gone. First night of auditions, I believe, was a Sunday night. I totally forgot about it. And this is before the internet and everybody having cell phones and stuff like that. Like, we had answering machines and real phones that if you weren't home, you weren't getting information. Unless you had a pager, but then if you had a pager, they thought you were dealing. So, and then there's things for like phone services for actors where you would call in. Did I get any calls from casting people? So you had an answering service that you would use as an actor. Anyway, so the Monday morning calls, Monday morning happens, they call my house where I was staying at my mother's, and they were like, is Brian there? And I said, hey, he's like, it's me, Joe. I thought you were coming for the audition. I'm like, oh, fuck, I totally forgot. Is there another one tonight? He goes, yeah. And I said, what do they need? They said, just a monologue and a headshot. And so I was like, all right. Came in there, auditioned, and when I went in there, his good friend Vince Pereira was videotaping the auditions. And I went up to him and I just went, hey man, how many principals are there? He goes, oh, there's 6, but we already have them cast. We're just auditioning day players, 1 5-line type of people, customers, things like that. I'm like, okay. No idea what the script was about. Went up there, did this really dark monologue from a play I was doing called Wait Until Dark. If anybody has the 10-year anniversary DVD of Clerks, they have on the extra DVD, they have the audition videos. Worst audition, by the way, don't at all. Like, I was turning my back on camera and talking. It was like awful. Anyway, he liked it enough where he's like, man, I wish I had a villain in this thing. You'd be perfect. And so days go by, I get a call from Kevin saying, hey, I want you to come back and do a read with me. So I went back to the Leonardo Recreational Center and read opposite Kevin the part about the independent contractors on the Death Star. Right. So I read it. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, oh, it's funny. I mean, the other guy's really funny, but this is funny. And he's like, would you want to do it? I'm like, sure. And I said, who are they in the film? And he says, oh, well, the film's called Clerks. It's about these 2 guys that work. One's at a convenience store and one's at the video store, and it's a day in the life type of film. I was like, oh, I was told the main roles were cast. He goes, yeah, they were, but don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And so I became Dante, and we then had a chemistry read with Marilyn Gigliotti, who had already gotten the part of Veronica. And we had worked before. We had done that show where I took the monologue from. So when I walked into the room for this other read-through with her, I was like, oh, hey, Marilyn. And she was like, oh, my God, Brian. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading that Dante character. She's like, oh, my God, I'm playing your girlfriend. And I was like, oh, my God. The last play we did together, I was trying to kill you. And now I'm trying to dump you. No, so we had a chemistry read. He liked what he did, and the rest was history for that one.
Very good history. Love it. All right, we are ready for our first question.
Well, I suppose dump would be an upgrade from murder. But my question goes out to the both of you. Thank you for coming, by the way, to Minnesota. And you have been, collaborating with Kevin Smith for a very long time. In your case, Brian, since Clerks, and you've played like more than one character. And I was curious, if you have like a favorite character that you have played in all of the View Askewnaverse films.
Well, that's like asking a mother her favorite child. Everyone that Kevin writes has their own unique benefits to the role. I do obviously enjoy playing Dante, although a lot of people call him a whiny bitch, but I think he's just a victim of circumstance. Anyway, but he does have incredibly wonderful co-stars to play off of. I mean, playing opposite Rosario Dawson was incredibly awesome, and playing opposite Jeff Anderson is really a lot of fun. But in Chasing Amy, for instance, working with Matt Damon was really cool. Like, I didn't know really who Matt Damon was at that time. And he wasn't. Yeah, he really wasn't. He was a friend of Ben's, is pretty much how I was introduced to him as. So he showed up, we did this scene in Red Bank at this office space that was supposed to be like an MTV kind of location. And he came in, he was dating some like beautiful French like model or something like that. And just kept himself very quiet, very to himself. And I was like, hey, I'm Matt. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? I'm a friend of Ben's. I'm like, oh, cool. And we did the whole scene because at first it was really funny. I was living in LA at the time, and my agent out there called me, said, hey, Brian, Kevin's office called. They want you to be part of this Chasing Amy film. They want you to play this MTV agent. I'm like, great. Got the script, saw the dialogue. Okay. Like a week later, just before I was about to go back out to New Jersey to film, I get a call from her going, hey, Brian, so we were contacted by Kevin's office, and they've done some rearranging of the script. So your monologue or your dialogue with the 2 other like with Ben and Jason has changed. Now there's two agents, so they're going to take half your lines and give it to this other actor. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, there's another actor. I'm like, well, who's the other actor? They went, she went, it's an actor by the name of Matt Damon. And I swear as I'm right in front of you saying this to you, as true as I'm about to say it, I said, who the fuck is Matt Damon? And she's like, well, he had done a couple of films and stuff like that. He's actually really friends with Ben. I'm like, whatever. So I arrived on set kind of with a little bit kind of like how you were like, fuck them, kind of thing. Like, oh, hey, Matt Damon, who the fuck you are. who would I ever think to go like on? He's always, and that's the thing, like he's always so sweet and always so nice, and every time we've ever run into each other, he's like, hey man, you doing any plays, kind of thing, and he's always genuine, and so over the years it's become nice to know, especially with the other role that he kind of took from me was like when we were on Mallrats, Kevin came to me and Jason Lee with the Dogma script and said, you guys read the Bartleby and Loki role, so I was reading Loki, and then, you know, they became much, obviously, higher and more bankable kind of actors, and so he's like, we're going to change the Loki, we're going to have you play this news reporter, so it was always fun playing Grant Hicks. I wanted to do more with the Grant Hicks, and if anybody has seen the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, there's kind of a throwback to the Grant Hicks character again, which I enjoyed, with Shannon Elizabeth, no less, so. It's tough to say, man. Like I said, he writes such great characters all around, and they're all very well rounded in their own weird, special way. So that would be me. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks for the question. Yes. Joey?
I've only
You
played
enjoyed?
2.
Right.
Obviously, Chasing Amy was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I bet, like, my husband teases me because I don't watch my own films.
Okay.
That much, so I haven't
That's a
seen-
common thing,
I
actually.
haven't seen Mallrats since the premiere.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see what was supposed to be the original beginning, at least, with the assassination attempt and all?
Nope.
That's an interesting shot, too.
But he teases me that I'm not actually in Mallrats
Yeah.
because he hasn't seen it in a while. So apparently I'm not in Mallrats. So yeah, Chasing Amy for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Joey. Hi, Brian. Thank you for coming back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So one of the things that this is what a big nerd I am. When I go to the Eden Prairie Mall, I get a little shiver, even though it doesn't look anything like it did in the movie. Every time I walk into that mall, I'm like, oh, this is where Mallrats was filmed. You know, that's how nerdy I am.
Yeah,
So-
one of the fans came up to the table. He's like, "Yeah, we specifically go in that one elevator and go.
Yeah.
Shannon Doherty had sex in this elevator.
Yes. Shannon Doherty got it on with Jason.
My
Lee in
personal
this
preference would
elevator.
just love to go there and goes, that kid is on that escalator
Yes.
again.
Actually, yes, I've done that joke. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, my question is, I'm wondering if you each could share a story about your time filming at the Eden Prairie Mall.
Wackiness at the mall.
Anything that was.
And I feel like I wasn't here like I kind of flew in,
Right.
did my part and left. So I wasn't here that long. Like Dazed and Confused, we were all in Austin for 2 months, the whole cast. But I think apparently I bitched out Jim Jacks about us dating. But then, I think once, because Kevin and I really, had a connection from the moment we met. And I guess, once you take an indie filmmaker who'd done this film Clerks and done it with nobody telling him what to do, and then you go and do a studio film, there's kind of they average jokes per page, and then there was the obligatory tits in the movie that had to be in there. And then I was telling Kevin I was nervous about it, and he's like, why are we even doing it? I don't care if there's tits in this movie or not.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's awesome. Let's not do it. And so we, in the mall, went and found Jim and told him we weren't going to do it. And he exploded. And it's like, there's going to be tits in this movie. There's going to be tits in this movie. So that's my memory of Eden Prairie Mall. And then it became this discussion of, well, how long? Kevin's like, okay, we got to do this, but how long do we have to show the tits? And do I how long do I have to? So it became very technical.
There's a formula for tit time.
Just lift your shirt up and then yeah. So that's my whole
Hollywood
Yeah.
filmmaking.
yes.
My time, I mean, it was always funny when talking to Jason Lee, especially. Here it was his first film, and he was a world-renowned, award-winning skateboarder. And his whole thing is he just totally wanted to skateboard the inside of that mall like you wouldn't believe. But in his contract, it specifically said he was refrained from doing that because, God forbid, he does break an ankle, crack his head open, whatever. So he didn't. So there was always that fun time just chatting with him. Me and him got along really great. I think that's why Kevin saw the chemistry and you guys would be great for Bartleby and Loki. But
I
I'm
was supposed to play Bethany.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
we're all in that
Yeah.
same bus that got run over on us, right? So there was one time where we're in between takes, and I was a social kind of cigarette smoker at the time. And so I had an ashtray in my hand. I'm smoking a cigarette away from set, but being able to see it. And here comes Shannon Doherty, who had her German Shepherd dog and her bodyguard with her, like on set, which was always like odd. And I'm having a cigarette watch, and she had a cigarette, and she came over and like put her cigarette while I was still holding. I'm like, hey, and she didn't even like, hey, what's up? Like nothing. Like I was her official ashtray holder.
Oh.
And I didn't, I had no bad blood at all about it. I just found it out. I'm like, oh my God, it's Shannon Doherty. Oh, she just wanted to come over to put out her cigarette. Like I thought she was coming out like, so what's going on? Loved you in the first movie, Clerks, blah, blah. Nope. Come on, Schweihund, let's go. She literally had a dressing room just for her dog, remember?
Oh my God.
Yeah. See, in the mall, we took over storefronts. So one storefront was hair and makeup, one storefront was costume, one storefront was camera department. She had a whole storefront that was her dressing room and another storefront for like a lounge. And then there was storefronts that was like multiple smaller dressing rooms and stuff like that. I remember the biggest change from going from us doing our own shit in Clerks to now having a studio run stuff. I fly into town. I was in town. I think they had already been shooting for like 3 weeks at that point, because now it's the big finale with the game show. So I fly in, go to hair. They take me to hair and makeup and wardrobe first to do a test, make sure the clothes fit and all that stuff like that. Go to makeup. They do a test on me. Like, all right, cool. You really want the mullet? I'm like, yeah. What's wrong with the mullet? And then we move on. And so. They tell me where my dressing room is in the mall. I'm about to leave, and I go over to wardrobe, and I grab my suit bag that has the Gil Hicks suit, and I start to walk out. I make the turn out of the store. I'm going like not even a store. And all of a sudden, from a distance, I say, hey! Hey! What? And there's this girl running right after me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I was told to go to my dressing room. Was I supposed to go back? She grabbed the suit bag. She goes, I'm supposed to carry this. You're not supposed to carry your own costume. This is my job. Do you want me to get fired?
Oh my gosh.
I come from a theater background. You did everything yourself. Like, you made your own costumes and shit. So I was just like, okay. After you, my liege, And then she walked me to the thing, and literally then we got into my dressing room. There was the coat hook and then left. Like I was like, wow. Now I know why movies cost tens of millions of dollars. It's for people to hold onto your coat. That's my memory of the Eden Prairie Mall.
Great question. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
both so
You're
much.
welcome.
All right, next question.
All right, this is for Brian. If the Muppets were gonna do a version of Clerks, who would you want to do Dante and Randall?
Oh my God.
Did you study?
If the Muppets were to be Clerks, who would you want to be Dante and Randall? God, that's a good one. I mean, Kermit has such a Dante attitude, I think. But, God, Professor Honeydew and Beaker sounds so awesome. Well, although they could also be Jay and Bob when you think about it. And then there's Fozzie. Oh, there's Statler and Waldorf, right? The two old guys. That's either Jay and Silent Bob. Otherwise, you could also have like, Animal and maybe Fozzie Bear. There's so many great characters of that show. That's a show that needs to come back big time. Or just doing a rated R version of the Muppets would be hilarious. What was that? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, no, really. Oscar, yeah, Grover and Oscar. That's a good one. Good choice, my man. So, we'll see. Good question.
Great question. Thank you so much. On to the next one.
Hi, I'm wondering, Brian, is Clerks 3 gonna happen?
Listen, man, we've been in this situation before with Kevin. Kevin has I'm sorry to say, he does have an affliction of premature enunciation. I think his herbal medicine kicks in sometimes with enthusiasm. So until I think T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and a new script is written, I'm on board. I know he met with Jeff recently. They had a big kind of kumbaya, kind of hug it out kind of moment at a signing of memorabilia that was arranged by both the ZSC Entertainment Group and Lilu Multiprops for people to send in their stuff to have signed. And in that moment, you know, they came to some kind of agreement that they would work together again. So that being said, since then, Jeff Anderson has signed with the ZSC Entertainment Group, the group that represents me and Jay and a bunch of other us from the View Askewnaverse, to do conventions. And we're about to announce the shows that Jeff has agreed to attend. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, hopefully with all this interaction and love with all of us being in such close proximity, I'm more than happy to go on board. We recently read for a fundraiser of that First Avenue Playhouse that we did the audition to. They needed 50 grand to make improvements to the theater, like new LED lights and soundboards and stuff like that. So we raised 20 grand by doing a 2 evening only reading of the original Clerks 3 script, which is incredibly a dark script. It's like the Joker of the View Askewnaverse. Like it went everybody thinks vulgar is, but no, that one is really a dark script. Which we're never going to make. Jeff didn't even like it when he first read it. I think that's what made it easier for him to walk away from that project back then. So that being said, hopefully we're going to go to your same fun dick and fart joke kind of heavy kind of, kind of throw to what you see in the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot kind of style of jokes. So we'll see. Until then, like I said, we've been down this road before. I don't like to put the cart before the weed, but... in this case, we'll see.
All right, thank you.
Great.
you.
Great question.
Hi, thanks for being here today.
Good to see you.
One thing I just want to say that Richard Linklater and Kevin Smith did well was encapsulating those eras and time periods. Like the lady before just now told you about Eden Prairie Mall, looks nothing like the Eden Prairie Mall you're at. And seeing that mall in that movie, I don't need pictures. That movie takes me right back to that era, just like Dazed and Confused in the mid-'70s. It's incredible how they captured those 2 eras. And I just wanted to tell you, if you went to the Eden Prairie Mall, you'd feel like you were in a whole other world.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of people come up to the tables to tell us how much it has changed. So, because I was going to think about going and taking a trip over there. But if it's changed so much, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's the same configuration, just completely different.
Yeah, there's no pet store anymore.
Yeah, well, you know, malls in general are having a tough time just even existing with the e-commerce the way it is. But so please go and visit people, especially have independently owned kind of stores. Go visit them. They need our business more now than ever. But yeah, right on. I mean, even it's brought up in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot when they go to Brody's stash in the mall and he tells what's going on with the economy in the mall. So, but thank you, sir. Yeah, I think Linklater and Kevin were right in that tapping of what our Generation X was living at that time. So
Even closer to home with Eden Prairie Mall.
yeah, right on, man. Thank you for the question.
Thanks so much.
For those who are asking questions, if you could just speak just a tiny bit louder. The monitors here are not really facing us, so we don't really, we're hearing it like you're hearing it from those speakers. Just speak just a tiny bit louder. Thank you.
Can do. Hi, thanks again for coming over to Minnesota. And my question is, there was this short 6-episode Clerks animated series that aired on like Adult. Yeah. What was the entire thought process that, oh shit, now I gotta do voiceover and be a cartoon, and then once you're all used to that, oh wait, it's done.
Well, personally, when we got the gig for the cartoon series, I was like, awesome, this will be my Simpsons. I'm gonna work for 30 years. But we went in there, just like how Mallrats was completely overrun by the studios. ABC was kind of like that. Two incredible writers and the other writing team that was part of that series. But Dave Mandel, who came from Seinfeld and Saturday Night Live and all these great shows, they were kind of micromanaging what they could say. They literally gave us a note once that we couldn't say bitch. And I was just like, what? I literally heard Grandpa Simpson go, bitch, bitch, bitch. And you're saying we can't say it? What the fuck's this about? This is bullshit. It's gay and queer. And that's when you can't say that either. So it was that type of thing where we were constantly back and forth. So in the sense that ABC took it, but they had nothing on their schedule during that time. This is before Rhonda Shimes came in and saved that network. But anyway, so when we went in there, we recorded dialogue. We did 6 episodes, and then it took 9 months. Once the master artist in Burbank put down the masters, they then sent it to Korea, where all the motion is done by Korean animators, which was funny that we made the joke about that, but that's what happens. And in that time, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire became a huge hit for ABC. So it wasn't just once a night on Sunday. Next thing, it was twice a week, and then it was 3 times. And then it was like, we're going to do it every night, twice a night. You know what I mean? And so then we were one of the first things they canceled. Plus, when they aired it episode 2 first, and then went back. Where episode 2 is a funny joke making fun of the first episode. So if you saw it through TV, you never got it. It was something that was bought to kill, to be honest with you, on their part. It was, if I was to see Eisner now on his book tour, I'm like, you killed my cartoon career, you fuck. You're Disney. You're supposed to be about animation, jackass. So, I'm not bitter, though.
No, clearly. Would you like to actually see a reboot to that?
Well, it's funny you should say that, and Kevin has talked about this in different podcasts. He has a friend who's running 2 very successful shows on the ABC network, who is a fan of the cartoon back then, who is trying to see if we can do that, bring it back, because ABC, Miramax Television at the time were the producers of that. So it's a matter of finding out what the logistics are, who owns what rights to what. And then once again, because it's the original actors doing the voices, it's another Jeff question to get him on board again, and all of us. And that's all hinged on everybody going to see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, bringing 20 friends, get high as hell, watch the movie. By that I mean just sit on a high chair. And then making a lot of money so that we can say, see, we're a bankable property. And that's all what it's about. And we'll get those people on board.
Great
All right,
question.
thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Hello again. I'm just curious, how familiar are you with the True North trilogy that Kevin Smith made? Because I'm wondering about the production for Moose Jaws.
No idea about Moose Jaws. I'm not part of any of the Canadian trilogy. I think because I make fun of Canadians too much. I don't know where that, but that's another project that Kevin has announced that, like on Mallrats 2, announcing that we just don't know where it's at. And so your guess is as good as mine, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry we couldn't help you.
Hi.
What's up?
Well, first off, thank you for letting us actually talk. If anyone who's been to one of Kev's Q&As knows about 3 people get to ask questions, but
3? Wow, that was a slow night for Kevin.
yeah, I know. But
Usually it's 1 and done, sir.
but having been to a couple, I'm a little loud. Having been to a couple of his Q&As and seeing that he's got a
Lean into the mic. We need to hear you.
Sorry. Seeing that I know he has a couple stories that he just loves to tell to like any audience. Are there any stories that you two wish you could tell more to Q&As and audiences?
No, I'm so glad. I'm so tired of telling these stories. Honestly, it's been 25 years.
Right.
I don't know how Kevin does it.
It doesn't even have to do about entertainment. Just tell a story about how you burnt eggs or some shit.
But it's some story that we tell a lot. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Oh,
No, I think he wants
one
just
that
a
you want to
story
tell
that
more,
we'd
one
love
that
to tell. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, one that may
Does it
not
have to do
necessarily.
with Kevin or this whole world?
No, it can be with
That's
anything.
what I mean. I think it's,
About
I think it's an
you,
open door.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Open
Yeah.
door,
Let me think
wide
of it.
open.
Let me
All
think
right,
about it.
all right. Let's see. Let's talk about things. Here, what am I going to talk about? I don't have a favorite story to tell. I have numerous stories to tell. I mean, I have really vulgar stories to tell.
Ooh, please do.
All right, so I get this question. What's the oddest thing I've ever had to sign? So I get things signed, like, hey, you signed the movies hat sign. What's the weirdest thing? So I was at a thing called Vulgarthon. What it is Kevin Smith in Red Bank holds a film festival of films that he's done and films he's produced, like Brian Johnson's Vulgar, or Drawing Flies, or Better Place, things like that, or Catch and Release, these type of films. So there's always, we do a Q&A, and then we're out in the lobby, and we just sign things for fans and stuff like that. So this young man comes up to me, he's like, hey, Brian. I'm like, hey, what's up? Big fan, thank you. So, man, could you sign something for me? Like, sure. And so I'm, meantime, taking a picture with someone else, because it's a lobby. It's not a table. It's not a formal thing. And the next thing I turn, he says, can you sign this? And out of his book bag, he's holding a double-sided 2-foot black dildo. And I'm like, what? It's like, could you sign this? I'm like, why? I don't know, I just thought it'd be great. I'm like, for who? So I get a silver Sharpie. I'm like, okay. I mean, I did do the movie Vulgar, so like, who am I to judge? So then they hold out the thing, and I'm literally like this with the Sharpie. And we take a photo, and I'm like, I'm not touching it. So we take the photo, he's here, I'm there, and I'm just like. Fast forward like a good 5-7 years. I'm in Philly, I'm on the set of this film called Calendar Girl. It's about a guy killing a girl a month and then taking photos and then taunting the police for his weird calendar. He's on the month of December, he's about to finish his mass killings, blah, blah, blah. I get cast as the made-for-TV director of these killings, who's like an English guy high on cocaine. So, total typecast. Anyway, so we're sitting, as movies are, you're sitting and you're waiting for setups all the time. And you're like, so this guy, Tommy Avalone, he's like, hey, Brian, good to see you. How you enjoying yourself here? He's one of the producers. I'm like, yeah, man, this is great. You guys have a great crew, moving along great, and blah, blah, blah. He goes, we met before. I'm like, oh, really? He says, yeah, I met you at Vulgarthon. Oh, cool. Did you like the film? He said, yeah. Yeah, you signed something for me. I'm like, cool. It was a hat, shirt, one of the DVDs. What'd you get? He goes, do you remember the guy with the 2-foot black dildo? Yeah. He's like, that was me. I was like, that was you? He goes, yeah. And now I'm working for you? And you're producing this? It's like, yeah. I'm like, holy shit. I said, but what did you do with that 2-foot black dildo? He goes, I don't know. I lost it. And I said, you lost it? In who? How do you lose a 2-foot black dildo? So the moral of the story is somewhere out there is a 2-foot black dildo that has my name on it. There you go.
If found, please return to.
And the record is set straight on just to why your name's on it. You're not claiming it.
Right.
It's not to be returned to owner.
Yeah, it's not, not property of.
Great.
You got a story yet? It's going to be hard to follow that one,
It
I
is
think.
hard to follow, but it's mine short and quick, and it's a story a friend of mine tells that happened to him. It has nothing to do with the movie business, which I love. He was in Aspen, a hippie in the 70s. He was actually Hunter S. Thompson's pot dealer after this job that he had.
You must have made a killing.
Yes. Anyway, his name's Ignatius Sims Luckett. He's like 77 now, tall, white hair. So, but one of his first jobs in Aspen was as a dishwasher. And he's pretty smart, so he got promoted to manager. And so he thought it would be great as manager to make all the employees take acid one night. And all the employees agreed except for this one girl, Valerie, because she had 2 kids at home. And she was like, Sims, I can't go home to my kids on acid. And he was like, okay, you don't have to do it. So it was like a Friday night, and I guess it was one of those first pizzerias with an open kitchen. And so the girls are all waitresses walk around, and cooks are doing the pizzas. And then the owner shows up, and Sims is freaking out. And he's just kind of trying to keep the guy's face from not melting off his head. And manager walks around, he's checking everything out. And he comes up to Sims, and he's like, Sims, come here. And Sims is like, oh, shit. And he pulls him aside, and he goes, what's wrong with Valerie?
Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have about 7 minutes left.
I'll make it snappy as possible. This question is for Joey. The song Alive was huge for me when I was growing up. I was a teenager, put it on mixes for all my friends. I was curious about the background of making of that song. I know it's something that you wrote, but it got kind of maybe changed up a little bit, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah. I, at one point in my 20s, got a guitar and learned like 5 chords and was like, oh, you can write songs. So I was writing like 3 songs a day, which tells you the quality of them. My favorite was Daddy's Dead in Mama's Head. And I would call my mom and sing them to her. And
Happy Mother's Day, I wrote you a song.
but if they had gotten divorced and she had moved on, so Daddy's dead in her head. And so I think that Kevin had wanted like this Disney song for that scene. I could be wrong. Anyway, he didn't have the money. Like once the film went to like, this is the budget, and he's like, hey Joey, that silly song that you sing, let's change that, because it was a country song called Where Are You Darling? So he slowed it down, made it bluesy, and it's Where Are You Baby? And I hate my performance of it. I can't sing, which is the ironic thing of me writing songs and singing them, but I still get money for it. I got to start a publishing company, which was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, chats. I'll be really, really brief. So my question here is for Joey. I gotta say, it's great seeing you all up here. Joey, you were my high school crush in high school.
Thank you.
You look amazing now. So for me, Chasing Amy was one of the best Kevin Smith movies. Not to dismiss on Clerks and Mallrats, but Chasing Amy showed that he had like a lot of like weight and showed characters with drama. And I wanted to ask you briefly about the award kind of run, because it was not, you were nominated for Best Actress for Golden Globe nomination movie.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank
And I want to ask you a little bit about that, the whole festival run of like getting an award, love for that, and also about working with Ben Affleck and what you had to do. There's my favorite scene with you and him in the car in the rain, and your emotion is just like at a 10.5, and what you had to do to get yourself worked up to doing a scene like that.
That's a lot of questions.
I know. My mind works that way.
I just worked backwards. But that scene we actually had to loop, which I don't know if you guys know what ADR is, but like because of there was a rain machine to get the rain, and so none of the sound came out. So we had to go like months later and go into a recording booth and do ADR and loop that scene. But I just think, I mean, for me, that script was, you know, I'd had so many guys give me shit about my past or whatever, their insecurities, and it was great for me. It was very cathartic to be able to say things, because Kevin's such a great writer. Like, I had told guys, like, fuck you, whatever, but it was never as well written as Kevin's dialogue. So for me, it was just, it meant something personally, which made it easy to sort of tap into the emotion.
So are you like ad-libbing at all with that, or just
No ad-lib.
No,
No.
Kevin Smith ad-lib? No.
In fact, he'll say like the inflection is on this syllable.
Yeah. Yeah. There was I learned that pretty quickly with Clerks, that he was almost giving line readings, which is like garlic to a vampire for actors. It's like, line reading? No, that's my skill set, sir. And he's like, well, drop the English accent. We're in Jersey. No, well, you know. But yeah, he's all about the, he wrote it, if you're not even getting the inflection. Kevin's gotten better now. He's more what directors should be, in a sense, like ask the question of the actor, make them discover the answer so they think they're smart and discovering it. That's kind of a trick of directing actors in a way. Being an actor, I know this, so it's always great to go, well, what if this was blah, 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 blah? Well, I think I'd be like this then. Well, let's try that.
All right.
You know, that kind of thing.
So anything happening with the Golden Globe nomination or the leading up to that? Any stories about
Are you searching for a very specific story? Because there is a very specific story about that.
Okay.
Well, there's the whole thing, like once Kevin was like, Mallrats failed at the box office, because Chasing Amy was going to be another big studio film, like John Hughes, and I think like we were going to be teachers in it, and then Kevin and I started dating. It became a whole nother movie. Then he was like, Mallrats tanked. I want to go back to doing indie film. I'm going to do this with Joey and Ben and Jason, and Miramax was involved, but not technically. Like, we couldn't say they were involved because then they would have had to pay Teamsters or something like that. But Miramax wanted Drew Barrymore and Jon Stewart for the roles. And Kevin fought to have us play it. And then, like, at some point, you would have thought that maybe Harvey would have been like, well, you guys are doing pretty good. I'm glad Kevin made that choice. And then, you know, it went on. It was sort of, you know, it did well at Sundance. It was doing well, and then I got nominated. But at no point did Harvey ever call me and just say, hey, you're great in the movie, you know? Anything, nothing. I mean, Harvey's an asshole. And I don't want to take this too dark, but like I was just doing this documentary that this guy's making about Chasing Amy, and it's just like people have this idea of like, oh my God, it was at the festivals and Sundance, and it must have been so amazing. And like, yes, it was, but like Harvey was raping Rose McGowan at that festival. Oh, and you know, there's the darker side, the shitty side to Hollywood that, you know, tends to get glossed over. But anyway, that's when too, like Harvey made Kevin tell me, like we had just had the screening of Chasing Amy, everyone loved it, and then Harvey told Kevin, I'm not gonna be in Dogma, and like, go home and tell your girlfriend. It's like, you can't wait 2 weeks. Like, we've worked hard on this movie, we're at Sundance, like, you can't just wait till everyone's home. Oh, jeez. But anyway, so I get nominated for the Golden Globe, it comes around, I wasn't expecting it at all, and my mom goes with me as my date, and we get there, and there's the red carpet, and it was like helicopters and people screaming, and it was just insane and surreal, and George Clooney was standing on my dress, and nobody knew who I was. Like, the publicist was like, this is Joey Adams. She was in Chasing Amy. She's been nominated. And then finally get through the red carpet, and the first person I see when I walk in is Harvey Weinstein and his wife. And I'm like, oh, hey, Harvey. And he's like, hey, he's like, why didn't you call me back? And I was like, oh my God, Harvey did. He called me. I missed him. I was like, Harvey, I missed your call. And he goes, no, Renee, I called you yesterday. And his wife was like, that's not Renee, that's Joey. And then I proceeded to like, I went to my table and the cameraman was like, do you know who Joey Lauren Adam is? Like, to get the shot if I want.
Yeah, the nomination.
Yeah, it was just like, and then Matt and Minnie were breaking up. Like, it was a weird time.
Oh, it's so glamorous in Hollywood, isn't it? Just award shows, people getting drunk. It's awesome. Meanwhile, it's like backbiting, and you're out, you're in. Oh, this one's prettier. Who are you again? Oh, you're not who I'm looking for. So it's that type of world.
But I got drunk and somehow related that story, like Harvey not knowing who the fuck I am, to me having his queen in a chess game. So I just continually went up to his table and was like, I got your queen, Harvey.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I do unfortunately think we're at time. Can you ask this question super, super quick?
Yeah, it's actually
lightning round.
Real quick. This one's for Brian. Are you even supposed to be here today?
No.
Oh.
Look. To be honest, you know, I escaped that whole movie very easily with just that one question. Poor Marilyn Gigliotti gets screamed at her, try not to suck any dick on the way through the parking lot.
Oof.
I'm perfectly fine with you guys saying it every single moment. It's a happy moment. It will be on my tombstone, I guarantee you. Here lies Brian O'Halloran. I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.